17th of May. That is the day I created my PokerStars account. So that was in 2007, so it's 10 years ago. Special day that was about to change my life, like in all areas. So this vlog today is going to be a little bit of my poker history, basically, and how everything started where I'm right now. So today I'm celebrating 10 years of poker. So in 2007 I was living in Dublin. At the time I'd left Germany with a backpack and I had made it to England and to Ireland, so I was out of Germany for 2 years. And the plan was to travel the world. And while I was living in England, actually, in 2006, I visited some friends in New York, and they taught me Texas Hold'em at the kitchen table. just so cliche how you learn it, right? And I knew just like some basic poker. So I played with my little brother. We played like 5-card draw without even knowing what a flush was and so on when we were kids. So that didn't get me very far. So Texas Hold'em immediately was fun for me and I loved it. So as soon as I was back home after my trip to New York, I just started writing my friends again and said, hey, I have to come back, we have to play poker together. And then they said, no, you don't have to come back to New York to play poker. You can play online on PokerStars. So I downloaded PokerStars, and a shout out to Brian, by the way, for bringing that up, because otherwise I might have never downloaded it. And that's how it all started. In the meantime, I had done a lot of like research and Googling about poker in general and how to learn. And one person that just kept popping up was Negreanu, and he always had the PokerStars patch on. So that was like, I saw it as a sign. So it all ended up with me signing up exactly today, 10 years ago. I also played on Full Tilt and on PKR at the time, and I tried to just learn as much as I could. I was so interested in just like getting down all the details of the game, and just watching like Negreanu lessons were mainly about live poker. So I really wanted to like explore live poker. And then one day in September 2007, a guy wrote me on Facebook and did a little bit of a cheesy flirt attempt. Shout out to Simone. But the thing is, what I found out while chatting with him was that he was playing poker. So I said, hey, listen, this is not a date, but can you take me to a casino and show me how this live poker thing works, right? And we went to what was back then the Cool Hand Luke's. That's not existing anymore nowadays. And I was sitting behind him for like 4 hours or something and just watch him like watch his every move, everything that he was doing. And he was Italian, so his moves were quite interesting to watch. Also at Cool Hand Luke's, it was quite funny because I'm always wearing black, so I got mistaken for a waitress and somebody tried to order a drink of me. So it wasn't a very good start when it comes to that, but I shook that off. And then after that lesson, I started playing every Sunday. I started playing a €30 self-dealt tournament, and that was in this very room. So right here, this is the Fitzwilliams Card Club and Casino. This is all refurbished now. It didn't look that nice 10 years ago. They did a good job here. But yeah, so it was a self-dealt tournament. I didn't know how to deal, so it was always the girl going like, can somebody else do it, please? And the thing is, I never won. I actually never won in those tournaments, but I just kept coming back. I kept learning. I kept playing the game. And I got more confident, not just in poker, but also in life in general. I saw what poker basically could do for me. So I continued my education, bought like Harrington Hold'em books, kept watching like online videos and so on. Obviously there wasn't that much in 2007. But the thing what I found out was that I'm probably not going to be good enough anyway to become like a poker pro. So immediately I realized that I probably have more interest in basically just working in the industry. I found the industry absolutely fascinating. The thing is, like, I'm an educated video producer, so my actual job title is audio-visual media producer, and I wanted to become a music video producer. But yeah, so I just basically said, okay, let's just do the poker thing, because it seems to be like a good alternative to the video production. So only half a year after I started playing, I actually started sending applications then. In November 2007, I sent my first applications to Full Tilt here in Dublin and to PokerStars in the Isle of Man and in London. None of them got attention. I think I had like one email conversation with the Isle of Man office, but that was it. And then the European Poker Tour came to Dublin, and that was a blessing. I was so excited. I really wanted to go and just see how that looks like, how a poker event of that size looks like. And then I saw that there was a German PokerStars pro, a female called Katja Tata. She was going to come and play. So I made an effort to send her an email and just went like, hey, I'm interested in this whole industry and in poker, and can I just like come and watch at the event? And she said, okay. So we actually ended up meeting, and she showed me a little bit about like the poker world, explained some stuff. She was playing Omaha, and it was like, I didn't know what that was, and it was like really, it was all very overwhelming. But in the end, I told her that I really wanted to work in the business, and she said, it's so difficult to get a job at PokerStars, but I could maybe help out at the next EPT that would come to Germany, to Dortmund, and help out at the IntelliPoker stand. And IntelliPoker was the poker school of PokerStars. So my job would come to an end anyway here in Dublin. I was working for Yahoo at the time, so I knew I needed a new job from like January, basically. So the first 2 weeks in January, I went back to New York to see my friends. I was telling them about the whole adventure that I was getting into now, and actually maybe getting a job for PokerStars. And I had a magazine, like a German magazine, Royal Flush magazine, and Katja was on the cover, and I was traveling with that. I brought it with me to New York, and then I showed it to my friends, and look, that's the girl, that's the woman that is helping me getting a job. And then while we were sitting in the house watching like WSOP coverage on TV, there were PokerStars adverts on TV, and she was actually on it. So it was just like the whole thing was like, oh my God, this is just all meant to be, and I'm already like part of it and in the middle of all this. And I got so excited. So once I was back in Dublin from New York, I just stored all my stuff somewhere. And then I took a flight over to the EPT in Dortmund. And the thing is, like, they told me that my job there would be to interview players, and I didn't actually know anybody. So it was super embarrassing. There were like really embarrassing moments, and I'm sort of glad that like most of these videos have disappeared in the meantime. But there was one person who I knew very well. Yes, and that was Daniel Negreanu. So I was dying. They told me I have to interview him, and I was just like, I was shaking and nervous, and I was like, oh my God. The thing is with Daniel, I never actually like, fancied him as a man. It was just always, I loved the way he was playing poker, because like chatting and funny, and not with a hoodie and like headphones. No, he was like fun and still won, And I loved how he explained stuff. So he was my absolute poker idol, and I interviewed him, and the interview went perfect. It was an absolutely perfect interview, which doesn't exist anymore either, but I have a couple of pictures. So yeah, and then after the interview, basically the founder of IntelliPoker, who was Katja Tata's husband, he then interviewed me for the job and just said, okay, so you're looking for a job right now? And I said, yep. And then he went, do you play poker? And I said, yes. How much? And I said, well, every day online and once a week live. And then he said, okay. And that was basically the interview. And then 2 days later, or like a day later or something, Katja came to me, put her arm around my shoulder and said, you can start on Monday. So I flew back after the EPT, flew back to Dublin, packed all my stuff up, went to Hamburg. And the thing is, like, I always said if I go back to Germany, which wasn't the plan, right, I would only go back to Hamburg. So if IntelliPoker would have been like in Frankfurt or something, I wouldn't have gone. So the whole thing would have never happened. So I started working for IntelliPoker, which was basically a daughter company of PokerStars. But my wish was still like really strong to go to the Isle of Man and work in the headquarters of PokerStars. I didn't want to be in Germany, so that was still the goal. And in 2009, which was crazy, PokerStars actually approached me to ask me, how important is it for you to be in Hamburg? It's like, not important at all. It's like, do you want to come to the Isle of Man? I was like, yes. So it was an immediate exception of that. And in 2010, February 2010, I got moved over then to the Isle of Man. Fast forward 6 years, I had enough of the Isle of Man. It's a beautiful place. I won't say much against it. It was just I was still single, and the whole thing was just for a single woman disaster. And I needed more poker, more concerts, just more life basically, and like traveling more easily. So for me, Isle of Man was always difficult to travel places. So yeah, my decision was then to move back to Dublin, basically where my old plan started falling apart and going the wrong way. Because the original plan was that to go to England, go to Ireland, go to America, Canada, and so on and so forth. But then I found poker, and that just brought me back to Germany. So I was like, let's just go back to Dublin and see what happens here. So last summer I moved back to Dublin, and I'm working from the Full Tilt office now. So it's basically our Dublin office, but it was back in the days it was the Full Tilt office. So all the circles are closing. Yeah, so in total I'm playing poker for 10 years. 10 years today, and I'm working in the industry 9 years. I saw amazing things and experienced awesome moments in the poker world, but I'm far from done. I love poker and absolutely happy and proud to work for PokerStars, and that I'm back in my spiritual poker home, Dublin. And I'm playing at the Fitz again. So the thing is, nowadays I'm not playing these €30 self-dealt tournaments, and suddenly don't exist anymore. I'm playing different tournaments now. And now they are bigger. And actually last November I made the final table in the Fitzfest main event and I came fourth for €6,200. So it was pretty amazing. So many of my experiences from working in the poker industry will be told a little bit in my Vegas book that I'm working on. I'm hopefully going to publish it in August, September this year, and then hopefully after that I'm going to have one come out about my experiences in the European poker circuit and not just in Vegas. And until then, first of all, to the next 10 years, and here is a bit of a geeky fangirl slideshow of some of my favorite moments of the last 10 years.
Oh, this you crazy mother...